Why cardio is a waste of time. Recently, I just uploaded a video on TikTok stating that cardio is a waste of time. Of course, the title and the thumbnail itself and the information I had was a little bit rageful and clickbaity. And I do not apologize because it brings more audience to my channel, therefore they can have more information about this topic. My opinion about cardio is not bad. I believe cardio is good, and I want to state that clearly. But for most people, for this type of person we got to talk about, it's not going to be the best in return versus someone who has to manage time. You know what I mean? I'm a strength training coach. I'm not trying to make sure someone get cardio endurance. If their goals are their goals and they want to focus on endurance or getting calisthenics or not even big muscle, if you believe that that's the case, then yeah, then don't watch my videos. But my videos are primarily for how to get strong in different training styles that you could focus on as well. Of course, some things I have to say that is true in my opinion, but if you want to talk about it in the comments below, go right ahead and I will defend my answer. So let's all be adults and let's just talk about it. But the reason why I believe cardio is a waste of time for this individual who has not a lot of time on their hands, typically adults that don't have a lot of time compared to teenagers on the internet that has, you know, just a part-time job and work out every day. Those adults I talk about is pretty much the mother, the single mother, or the business owner, or the overnight work, stuff like that. They don't have a lot of time on their hands because they're consistently working to make ends meet. And therefore, this will be a great way to actually focus on more is strength training. The reason why I say cardio is a waste of time specifically because it's rageful. It's not click, but it's just rageful. And people goes to my channel, I'm being honest. But also another thing is, why am I doing additional cardio, like mandatory cardio that I had to schedule versus something that I can focus on, something like walking after meals, improve insulin sensitivity, stuff like that, than scheduling manual cardio sessions. Therefore, people will be less consistent versus something that only takes 10 minutes after meals to be more consistent, and dividing those sections up, therefore people can be more consistent. This study shows that more people be more consistent, dividing things up in small increments to actually improve their well-being, to be more focused. When you think about weight loss, you probably think about not fitness fanatics or, you know, people who don't go to the gym. I'm just talking about the ordinary person who's probably watching this video. You probably just think about on the treadmill, I had to run, I had to walk. And if you think about strength training, resistance training, that's great. But for most people, they think about losing weight the wrong way. And how I explain it is, you don't have to do hours and hours of cardio. Most people do hours of cardio thinking that's the best way and negate the strength training thinking they're gonna build so much muscle and be bulky, because they don't understand the process of how long does muscle get built, and what is muscle and what is fat. You know, it's a difference of you getting big in the gym, but most of it is fat compared to muscle size. You're not going to gain so much muscle, therefore not be lean unless you're eating a lot of calories on top of that. Most likely be lean when you're gaining muscle mass. So that whole stigma of being bulky when building muscle, a lot of people know that that's not the case. You will get leaner because of the muscle increase and the body fat decrease. But it's still proven is when you focus on strength training, you're not wasting as much time to cardio, do mandatory cardio. So you're dividing it specifically. And the person who has the stigma of, you know, trying to lose body fat, stuff like that, thinking they have to do hours of cardio, especially the person who is more busy than a teenager, they're going to fall off the wagon compared to a teenager that doesn't have kids or doesn't have a full-time job or only has school to worry about, stuff like that, compared to the person that I am trying to target to is the 50-year-old, the 40-year-old, the 30-year-old, even the 26-year-old. It happens, you know, life gets in the way, and adding extra things to your schedule will be a whole situation, a whole problem we have to focus on later, you know. So mandatory cardio is not the best way. Hours of cardio is not the best way. Strength training is prime focus of this video because it will, you know, it will improve health. It will improve health. And the thing with that is, I want people to mix cardio with weights, you know, and I'm talking about mandatory cardio specifically. Of course, walking is cardio, but most people are talking about, oh, why you hate mandatory cardio. That's what they're talking about in those comment sessions that I said previous to this video before I was talking. And about that is, I think cardio is great, but backtracking, a mix of cardio will be good, but mandatory cardio takes time. It does. You have to go to the gym. You have to show up. You have to travel. It depends how close to the gym. You have to spend gas money to go to actually get travel, mandatory cardio. And it's a whole scheduling process, and it's not going to be realistic to the individual. That's why I do believe mandatory cardio is a waste of time. But strength training is more better because it saves more time and conserves it, in my opinion. And also gives you more longevity because you get investment return versus the debt that you're collecting versus just burn. That's the person I'm talking about. And yes, good mix of both cardio is beneficial, but strength training will help you more if you don't have a lot of time in your hands to do mandatory cardio. That's what I'm talking about because that's what most people think. Most people probably don't think walking is necessary cardio, but walking is a great function of cardio. So I just want to give that to you a side note. So what is the minimum amount of cardio you should do for the heart and lungs? The minimum amount of time is, that's what the FDA said, or the National Health Institution. It says like 120 minutes a week. I would say if you can, do a little bit more if you want to. Maybe 30 minutes on one day, or if you don't, then just do 10 minutes of walking after each meal. So if you eat 43 meals a day, that's 40 to 30 minutes a day right there. So, and therefore you're improving your insulin because you don't want to sit after eating a whole big meal. We got hot wired to do that, and that's not really good for your body for digestive process. That's not really good for degrading the food so it can go to your muscles, glucose, muscle cells, stuff like that faster. And it's not good to increase insulin sensitivity. It's going to decrease insulin sensitivity. So you want to make sure that you're focused on walking after meals. That's a good way to do it. Minimal cardio, you don't need a lot of cardio. If you focus on endurance, if you're focusing on more of a fit run type of guy, you want to run a mile pretty smoothly, you could do a little bit more, but strength training will help that. When you do 20 reps on squat, your heart is pretty much beating. For your heart and lungs, you don't really need much. When you do 20 reps on squat, your heart is you're kind of out of breath. You're doing a lot of cardio itself there. Cardio doesn't have to be running on a treadmill. Cardio doesn't have to be swimming. It doesn't have to be anaerobic looking. It can actually be just me doing a self squats or me doing a high reps. That's a lot of cardio. And I'm not talking about high reps and going to running. I'm talking about just doing one movement like weights and just doing that for high reps. And that is cardio endurance and also muscle endurance as well. But that's also cardio endurance. It takes a lot of stamina to do that. So, my point still stands. You can still do your cardio. I'm not being a hater, but for the point of the video is strength training, you can still get the same or even more benefit of cardio compared just because you can do high reps. You can make sure your heart beats it pretty fast. You're not going to convince me that cardio will be better, mandatory cardio, for someone who's very busy, who has office job per se, who's very busy with kids and family life, and not say, hey, doing mandatory cardio would be better for them versus something that is going to be more anabolic, improves bone density, improves in stamina as well, depending how the training session goes, versus something that just burns calories. If you focus on paying off your debt many times, you're paying off that debt, but you're not making anything in return. But when you focus on strength training, you putting something into an investment. You're focusing on putting those calories into something that's going to pay you off long term. Therefore, you have a faster metabolism. Therefore, you increase your muscle mass. Therefore, decrease your fat percentage. Those studies show that you only burn 80 calories per pound of body mass is not necessarily true. Just because the metabolism is so vast that we don't even know everything about the metabolism. A lot of advanced people say you can build a lot of muscle in 3 months and they can eat around 3,000 calories. It is possible. It's just you have to do it for a certain way, And studies also are not the most accurate. They only track it for 3 to 12 weeks at most, and until then, it's done. So you have to keep that in mind as well. Studies are not the best form of metric to look at something in long term if I'm talking about muscle mass in long term, because muscle takes longer to build compared to fat. So I just want to keep that in mind. but that's really it. So why strength training can be more beneficial than cardio? We just talked about that. The reason why is the increase in muscle mass, the increase in bone density, the increase of longevity. If you had to do mandatory cardio, you're decreasing your muscle mass and bone density. And especially if you do it for fat loss, you're losing weight, but not the right kind of weight. You're losing muscle mass. And muscle is very protective for insulin sensitivity and insulin sensitivity and muscle mass. So if you're doing a lot of cardio, which is still catabolic, let's just keep that in mind, especially in a calorie deficit, that is a wrong combination for a disaster approach. So I want you to keep in mind, strength training helps you store those calories, build muscle first. Therefore, when you're trying to cut the weight, still don't do hours of cardio, but when you're trying to cut the weight, at least you have higher calories than before, so you can easily cut it and actually be mentally manageable and also physically as well, so you don't lose all that muscle. Strength training doesn't make you so big and bulky. It probably makes you big and bulky and you feel big and bulky because you're not used to it, and also the increase of body fat percentage maybe you're consuming. But muscle mass doesn't make you big and bulky. If I get a 130-pound individual in a shirt, he looks small. But if I get him with the good lighting, with the perfect angles, he looks ginormous. He looks like he's 200 pounds. But people don't understand that. They think 130 pounds is big if they see a shirtless picture with a good angle and a good lighting. They don't think, my point still stands. So just keep in mind what's actually big and what actually is small. It's a complete difference. And being lean gives this an illusion effect that you look bigger, but reality is you're not bigger. You're just leaner. You look more vascular. You have more depth. You have more angles. It's like drawing art. So yeah. So how do you do both? So I did say cardio is a waste of time. So does this dude hate cardio? Is he a negative person? He hates cardio? Not necessarily. Keep in mind, I did cardio a lot when I was 144 with bad sleep, with bad nutrition as well. Well, my nutrition was good, but my calorie intake was low, eating around 2,500 calories to 2,000 calories. And I was 144 pounds. Very muscular and veiny. I looked probably big if I took a close-up photo, but I wasn't big at all. I was very small, especially putting on a shirt. But my point is, I did a lot of cardio in my days. I did around the treadmill. I remember to this day, 13 incline, 3.1 speed to 3.3 speed. I remember I used to clock in 30 to 40,000. No, my bad. 30, and then it was 40, and then it was 50,000 steps consistently. Around 4,500 to 50,000. If I can't do it, then I just hop on a seated bike. And I was eating around, when I was doing that, 5,500 calories because I had to fuel that training. And also, when I was 144, I was doing nothing but 2 hours of cardio in the morning, 4:30 a.m. to all the way 6:30 a.m. Sometimes even 7 if I want to push it to 3 hours. And I always had these migraines when I went out and took a break because it was so intense. So I keep in mind where I'm coming from. I'm not this random guy who's just saying cardio is bad. I did my fair share of intense cardio. I was 255 pounds. I did it the wrong way. I bulked up. I'm 220. Now I'm cutting. So, I have experience in this, and I want you to keep in mind you're not alone if you go into this process of cutting cardio down. And a lot of people like to defend hours of cardio because they're cardio bunnies. That's the point. They like their endorphins. They like to feel. I have to deal with someone who has this problem as well. Is it a problem? Yes. If they're doing so much that's hurting them, yes, it's self-harm. So not everyone's going to say it, but it is the truth. It is self-harm if you do something that's painful. So, my point will stand. But that's just a little side piece. But how do you do both effectively? You could do a minimum, easily both. You can do mandatory cardio. If you want to, you can. If you can fit in your schedule and be consistent with it without any pain and doing insane amount of cardio, like only 30, maybe an hour here and there, then yeah, you can effectively strength training. But ways to do it is do it after do it before strength training. So how I would tell someone is do strength training first, build muscle, focus on proper rest periods, That's your building muscle foundation. And cardio is just a little top for longevity, is a little top for endurance. So you can catch up if you want to do, if you want to play with your kids, or, if you want to able to run a good mile, at least you got that as a side piece. So you can do a little cardio, but make sure it's after your training session. So make sure it's not before, because you will be winded when you do 40 minutes on an intense cardio machine. So you don't want to do that necessarily. And also space out your cardio if you want to. So if you want to do cardio in the morning and wait 8 hours, you can do it. You can do it like that. So if you're going to do cardio before, you want to space out probably around 4 to 8 hours, I would say. And the reason why is your body still feels it. Even though you might not feel it up here, your body will have an effect on it. But that's how long I would wait. That's pretty much it, how you can add both to it. But it is effective. You can add cardio to it both effectively. Like, it is possible. I did this before, and I was doing a lot of cardio, not even on the treadmill when I was doing 30 to 40,000 steps sometimes. Just walking in general is cardio. So just keep that in mind as well. And the intro and what should you do? So the final verdict is, what should you do? Should I just focus on just building muscle? Should I just focus on just doing cardio? I want endurance, right? That's my goal. The reality is, do what you want to do. I can't change your perspective. I can't change your opinion. And I'm not trying to give misinformation. If your goal is just to focus on endurance, that's great. But you might want to focus on strength training a little bit on the side. At least you get some muscle mass. You don't want to lose a lot of muscle. It's not just like, oh, I lost a lot of muscle. It's like, oh shit, I lost a lot of muscle. I have to start back at square one. And if you're doing just nothing but strength training, you don't want to lose your cardio endurance. Cardio, the best thing about cardio actually is cardio comes in fast, in 2 weeks time frame. So it comes back fast pretty relatively. But with strength training is, you don't want to be gassed so many sets. So it is a negative and positive that you want to focus on. It depends on your goals. For me, I just want to able to be as strong as humanly possible, not worry about aesthetics. I used to chase aesthetics and I did not get the health. Now I chase the health and I get the aesthetics after I'm cutting. So just focus on what you want to do and focus what you like at the end of the day. I can't change your opinion on something, but I hope this gives more light on what you should do in a healthy manner. That's what this video is about, and that's what my channel is about. It's trying to have some funny content, but also have serious content that actually trying to help you relatively. So if this video provides you a lot of information, good information, quality information, please like, subscribe down below. If you want to see more content like this and the content I share, like those funny skits or just skits in general, you could go on my page and my playlist. If you saw this was interesting, maybe click watch for later. But that's really it for NoBSNutrition or Drake. Take care.